Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and looked out at space. What he saw made his crew go quiet. 300 alien ships appeared out of nowhere. Each ship was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. They came in perfect rows, like they were ready for war. The alien ships surrounded Earth completely. There was no way in or out. Jake had been a space captain for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. His hand stayed steady on the controls, but his heart beat faster. Lieutenant Amy Foster sat at the communication desk. She was young but smart, and Jake trusted her with important messages. The alien ships were trying to talk to them. Strange sounds came through the speakers. Then the computer changed the sounds into words they could understand. "People of Earth," the voice said. It sounded cold and mean. "This is the Zerathian Empire. You will put down your weapons now. You will follow our rules. If you do not obey, we will destroy your planet. You have 1 hour to decide." The bridge got very quiet. Everyone looked at Jake. They waited for him to speak. Jake had fought in many space battles. He had seen friends die in wars between planets. He knew what it meant when an empire this big came to threaten Earth. Then something strange happened. Jake started to laugh. It was not a small laugh or a nervous laugh. It was a big, happy laugh that came from deep inside him. The sound filled the whole bridge. Amy looked surprised. The other crew members looked at each other with confusion. Jake kept laughing for almost a minute. When he stopped, he was still smiling. He wiped tears from his eyes and looked at Amy. "Open a channel to their leader," he said. "I want to talk to them." Amy pressed some buttons. "Channel open, Captain." Jake cleared his throat. "This is Captain Morrison of the human ship Defiance. We got your message about surrendering and following your rules." He paused and grinned even bigger. "We say no thank you. But if you want to talk about this like grown-ups, we can meet for coffee. We make very good coffee." The alien voice came, back right away. It sounded angry and confused. "You dare to refuse the Empire? No species has ever laughed at our demands. What kind of creatures are you?" Jake looked at his crew. They were all smiling now, too. "We are humans," he said, "and we laugh at lots of things. Your big scary speech was pretty funny. Do you want to try threatening us again, or should we skip to the part where we become friends?" On the alien command ship, Fleet Commander Thexmol could not believe what he was hearing. In 300 years of conquering other planets, no one had ever laughed at the Empire. Fear, anger, sadness, begging for mercy. These were normal reactions. But laughter? This was impossible. Thexmol was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like metal. He had destroyed 1,000 worlds and made millions of creatures bow down to him. His ship was so big it had its own weather systems. His weapons could crack planets in half. How could these tiny creatures laugh at him? "Scan their ships," he ordered his crew. "Find out what weapons they have. Check their defenses. These humans must have some secret power if they are not afraid." The alien crew worked fast. After 10 minutes, they gave their report. "Commander, this is strange. Their ships look very simple. We see no powerful weapons. No energy shields, no armor plating. They appear to be using basic technology that is hundreds of years behind ours." Thexmol felt confused and angry. "That cannot be right. Scan again. Look deeper." More scans came back with the same results. The human ships were small and looked weak. Their technology was simple. They had no superweapons or secret defenses, so why were they not afraid? Back on the human ship, Jake was having fun. He had called Earth and told them about the situation. The government wanted to negotiate. The military wanted to fight. But Jake had a different idea. "Amy, send another message to the aliens," he said. "Tell them we are still waiting for an answer about the coffee. Ask them if they like sugar or cream in theirs." Amy tried not to laugh as she sent the message. The whole crew was relaxed and happy. They should have been scared, but somehow Jake's laughter had made them feel brave. The alien reply came fast. "Humans, you do not understand. We are the most powerful force in the galaxy. We have conquered 10,000 worlds. Our weapons can destroy stars. You must surrender now, or we will show you what happens to those who refuse the Empire." Jake nodded. Okay, they want to do this the hard way. Amy, tell them we understand they are very powerful and scary, but we still say no, and ask them if they have tried turning their ships off and on again. Sometimes that fixes things. The alien commander was now very angry. Never in his long life had anyone made jokes when he threatened them. These humans were either very brave or very stupid. Either way, they would learn to respect the Empire. Prepare the demonstration weapon, Thexmol ordered. We will show them what happens to planets that refuse to surrender. Target their largest city. Use enough power to crack their continents. The weapon began to charge. It would take 5 minutes to reach full power. This weapon had destroyed entire civilizations. After the humans saw what it could do, they would beg for mercy like all the others. But Jake Morrison was still smiling. He looked out at the huge alien fleet and shook his head. Poor things, he said to his crew. They have no idea what they are getting into. This is going to be fun. Admiral Lisa Parker watched the alien weapon charge up from her command ship. She was in charge of Earth's defense fleet, which was spread out around the solar system. Her ship was called the Retribution, and it was the biggest human warship ever built. But compared to the alien ships, it looked like a toy. Lisa had gray hair and calm eyes. She had been fighting space pirates and protecting Earth for 30 years. She had seen many battles, but nothing like this. 300 alien ships, each one massive and powerful, all pointing their weapons at her home planet. On the bridge with her was Commander Rick Hayes. He was her tactical officer, which meant he was in charge of weapons and fighting. Rick was looking at his screens with worry. The alien weapon was almost ready to fire. Admiral, Rick said, their weapon is targeting North America. The energy readings are incredible. This thing could split the continent in half. Lisa nodded but stayed calm. How long until it fires? 2 minutes, Rick replied. Should I order our ships to attack? Maybe we can stop it before it fires. Lisa shook her head. No, let them shoot first. I want to see what we are dealing with. Down. On Earth, Chief Engineer Pete Johnson was working in a secret facility under the Rocky Mountains. Pete was a big man with rough hands from years of building machines. He was watching screens that showed the alien fleet above. Pete's job was to take care of Earth's defense systems. These were not normal weapons or shields. They were something much more special, something the rest of the galaxy had never seen before. His communication device beeped. Admiral Parker's voice came through. Pete, are you ready down there? Pete looked at his screens. All the systems showed green lights. Everything was working perfectly. Yes, ma'am. Defense grid is online and ready. Should I activate the shields? Not yet, Lisa said. Let them take their shot first. I want to see the look on their faces. Pete grinned. He had been waiting for this day for years. Understood, Admiral. This is going to be good. Back in space, the alien weapon finished charging. It was a massive energy beam that could destroy entire planets. Fleet Commander Thexmol gave the order to fire. Fire the Continental Destroyer, he said. Show these humans what happens when they refuse the Empire. The weapon fired. A beam of energy brighter than the sun shot toward Earth. It was moving at incredible speed, carrying enough power to crack the planet's crust and kill millions of people. Lisa watched it come. On her screens, she could see the energy levels and the target area. The beam would hit North America in 30 seconds. Her crew held their breath. The beam struck Earth's atmosphere. There was a bright flash of light. Then nothing. The weapon just disappeared. It did not bounce off. It did not explode. It did not get absorbed by shields. It just stopped existing, like it had never been fired at all. On the alien command ship, Thexmol stared at his screens in shock. What happened? Where did our weapon go? His crew ran scans and checked their instruments. Commander, we do not understand. The weapon fired correctly. It hit their planet, but then it just vanished. That is impossible, Thexmol said. Scan their planet again. Find their defense systems. The aliens scanned Earth with everything they had. They looked for energy shields, deflector arrays, absorption fields, anything that could stop their weapon. They found nothing. Earth looked completely undefended. Lisa's communication device buzzed again. It was Pete from the mountain facility. "Admiral, our systems barely noticed that shot. Should I turn on the shields now?" Lisa smiled. "Not yet, Pete. Let them try a few more times. I think they need to work through some things." Rick looked confused. "Ma'am, what just happened? How did we stop their weapon?" "We didn't stop anything," Lisa said. "Their weapon just doesn't work. Here." The aliens tried again. This time they used 5 ships firing together. 5 massive energy beams shot toward Earth, each one powerful enough to boil the oceans. The beams hit the atmosphere and vanished just like the first one. Thexmol was starting to panic. "This cannot be happening. Use the planet killers. Target their major cities, fire everything." 10 alien ships fired their most powerful weapons at once. These were weapons designed to destroy entire worlds. The energy beams were so bright they lit up the solar system. All 10 beams hit Earth and disappeared without a trace. Lisa opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. "This is Admiral Parker of the Earth Defense Force. You seem to be having some technical problems with your weapons. Would you like us to send over a repair crew to take a look?" The aliens did not answer right away. Lisa could imagine the confusion on their ships. They had probably never seen anything like this before. Finally, Thexmol's voice came through the speakers. He sounded angry and scared. "What kind of defenses do you have? How are you stopping our weapons?" Lisa looked at Rick and winked. "We are not stopping anything. Your weapons are stopping themselves. Maybe you should try turning them off and on again like Captain Morrison suggested." Rick tried not to laugh. He was beginning to understand that this was not going to be a normal battle. Down on Earth, Pete was having the time of his life. He was watching alien weapons disappear one after another. His defense systems were not even working hard. The power levels were barely above normal. "Admiral," Pete called up to the fleet. "They just fired their biggest gun at Washington, D.C. It tickled our sensors for about half a second, then vanished. Should I send them a thank you note?" Lisa grinned. "Not yet, Pete. Let them keep trying. This is educational for everyone involved." The alien fleet was now in chaos. Ships were firing randomly at Earth, trying every weapon they had. Nothing worked. Every shot just disappeared when it got close to the planet. Some alien ships tried to fly closer to Earth to use physical weapons. But when they got near the planet, strange things started happening. Their engines stopped working right. Their computers gave error messages. Their weapons turned into harmless light shows. Thexmol was desperate. "Call for reinforcements, bring more ships, bring the biggest weapons we have. These humans have some kind of technology we do not understand." But Lisa Parker just sat back in her command chair and smiled. The aliens could bring all the ships they wanted. It would not matter. Earth was protected by something much more powerful than any weapon or shield. Earth was protected by the simple fact that alien weapons were based on physics that did not actually exist. Fleet Admiral Ben Cooper had seen enough. He was the highest-ranking military officer in the human space fleet, and he was getting tired of watching aliens shoot at Earth with weapons that did not work. Ben was an old soldier with white hair and steady hands. He had fought in every major space battle for the past 40 years. From his flagship, the Sovereign, Ben watched as more alien ships arrived. What started as 300 ships was now 3,000. The aliens had called for help from across their empire, and their reinforcements were bigger and meaner than the first group. "Sir," said Communications Officer Tony Martinez, "we are getting reports from all over the galaxy. The aliens are really upset about this. They have never seen anything like what happened here." Ben nodded. Tony was a young man who spoke 12 alien languages. He had been listening to alien radio chatter for hours, and what he heard was getting more interesting by the minute. "What are they saying, Tony?" Tony looked at his notes. "They are asking their commanders if humans might be some kind of mythological species. Some of them think we might be the old ones that their grandparents used to tell stories about." Ben raised an eyebrow. "Mythological? That is new. What else?" They are arguing about whether we exist in the same reality as them, Tony continued. Some alien scientists think we might be from a different dimension. Others think we are using technology so advanced that it looks like magic. Lieutenant Colonel Maya Sullivan flew her fighter ship close to the alien fleet. Maya was the best pilot in the human Space Force. She was brave, smart, and loved to fly fast. Her job was to lead Earth's fighter squadrons in battle. But this was not turning out to be much of a battle. Maya flew her small fighter right through the middle of the alien formation. The aliens shot at her with everything they had. Laser beams, plasma cannons, missile swarms, energy torpedoes. Everything passed right through her ship like it was made of air. Admiral Cooper, Maya called over the radio. This is getting silly. I just flew through their biggest battleship, and their weapons could not touch me. It is like we are ghosts to them. Ben smiled. Maya always made things sound simple even when they were very strange. Any damage to your fighter, Maya? None, sir. In fact, my ship feels better than ever. Whatever is happening here seems to make our engines run smoother. The alien fleet commander, Thexamol, was becoming desperate. His weapons did not work. His reinforcements were just as confused as his original ships. His empire's most powerful weapons were useless against these strange humans. Thexamol had called for help from the very top of the empire. Grand Admiral Zekthor was coming with the Imperial War Fleet. Zekthor commanded ships that could destroy entire solar systems. If anyone could figure out how to beat the humans, it would be him. But even Thexamol was starting to wonder if this was possible. Nothing they tried worked. Human ships flew through alien weapons like the weapons were not. Their human planets seemed to exist in some kind of protective bubble that made alien technology stop working. Ben decided it was time to have a proper conversation. Tony, open a channel to their fleet commander. I want to talk to this Thexamol fellow. Channel. Open, Admiral. Ben's voice was calm and friendly. This is Admiral Cooper of the Human Defense Fleet. Commander Thexamol, you seem to be having some technical difficulties. Your weapons are not working, your reinforcements look confused, and your crew is starting to panic. Would you like to talk about this? Thexamol's reply was angry. Human Admiral, what technology are you using? How are you making our weapons fail? What kind of beings are you? Ben thought about how to answer. The truth was strange, even by space war standards. Commander, we are not using any technology to stop your weapons. Your weapons are stopping themselves. As for what kind of beings, we are just humans. We live on planets, we eat food, we have families. Pretty normal stuff. That is impossible, Thexamol said. Nothing can stop Imperial weapons without powerful defenses. You must be using some kind of advanced shield technology. Ben looked around his bridge. His crew was listening carefully. They all wanted to know how to explain this to the aliens. Commander, what if I told you that your weapons are based on physics that do not work in real space? There was a long silence from the alien fleet. Finally, Thexamol spoke again. What do you mean, real space? I mean the actual universe, Ben said. The one where things like gravity and energy and matter follow consistent rules. Your weapons seem to be designed for a different kind of universe, one with different rules. Dr. Sarah Kim was listening to the conversation from her laboratory on Earth. Sarah was humanity's top scientist for studying alien technology. She had been examining alien weapon traces since the battle started. Sarah sent a message to Admiral Cooper. Sir, I have been studying their weapons. The Admiral is right. These weapons are trying to manipulate types of energy that do not exist. They are using mathematical formulas based on imaginary physics. Ben nodded. Sarah, can you explain this in simple terms for our alien friends? Sarah's voice came over the communication channel. Commander Thexamol, your weapons are very impressive, but they are built on scientific theories that are not real. It is like trying to use magic spells in a world where magic does not exist. The alien fleet went quiet. Ben could imagine the conversations happening on their ships. Thousands of alien officers and scientists trying to understand what the humans meant. Grand Admiral Zekthor arrived with 5,000 more ships. His fleet was so big, it blocked out the stars. Zekthor, was the most feared military leader in the galaxy. He had conquered entire star systems by himself. "Human Admiral," Zekthor's voice boomed across space. "I am Grand Admiral Zekthor of the Imperial War Fleet. I have come to finish what Commander Thexmal started. Surrender now, or face the full might of the Empire." Ben sighed. "Grand Admiral, welcome to our solar system. I am Admiral Cooper. Before you start shooting, you might want to ask Commander Thexmal how the first battle went." There was a pause. Clearly, Zekthor was talking to Thexmal privately. After a few minutes, Zekthor spoke again. His voice sounded less confident. "Commander, Thexmal tells me your defenses are unlike anything we have seen." "Very well. I will test these defenses myself." Zekthor's flagship fired its main weapon. This was a planet-killer beam that had destroyed entire worlds. The beam was so powerful it could be seen from other star systems. It hit Earth and vanished like a soap bubble. Ben opened the communication channel again. "Grand Admiral, did your weapon work the way you expected?" Zekthor's voice was quiet. "No, it did not work at all. Would you like to try again, or can we skip to the part where we have a reasonable conversation?" The alien fleet tried every weapon they had. Super lasers, antimatter bombs, reality warping devices, quantum destroyers. Nothing worked. Every weapon simply stopped working when it got near human ships or planets. Finally, Grand Admiral Zekthor asked the question that was troubling the entire alien fleet. "Admiral Cooper, are you gods?" Ben laughed, just like Captain Morrison had laughed at the beginning. "No, Grand Admiral, we are just humans. But I think you are about to learn something very interesting about the universe you live in." President Helen Ross sat in her office in Washington, D.C., and read reports from all over the galaxy. Helen was a smart woman who had been leading Earth for 6 years. She had dealt with many problems, but never anything like this. Her desk was covered with messages from alien governments. Everyone in the galaxy had heard about the humans who could not be hurt by Imperial weapons. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. "Ma'am," said her assistant, Jim Bradley, "we have received diplomatic requests from 47 different alien species. They all want to meet with us. Some of them are offering to help us fight the Empire. Others are asking if we will help them fight the Empire." Helen rubbed her temples. She had a headache from reading alien messages all morning. "Jim, set up meetings with all of them, but make it clear that we are not looking for a fight. We just want everyone to calm down and talk." Dr. Carl Mitchell was Earth's expert on alien biology and culture. Carl was a thin man with thick glasses who loved learning about different species. He had studied aliens for 20 years, but he had never met any in person until now. The meeting room at the United Nations was packed with alien representatives. There were tall blue creatures from the Altair system, crystal beings that glowed with their own light, and strange floating creatures that looked like jellyfish made of energy. Carl stood at the front of the room and looked at all the different aliens. Some were sitting in chairs, some were floating in the air, and some were existing as pure energy fields. It was like something from a science fiction movie. "Thank you all for coming," Carl said. "I know you have many questions about humans and what happened with the Zerothian Empire. I will try to answer them as simply as possible." Ambassador Kim Watson from the Galactic Consortium raised her hand. Kim was from a species that looked like tall, elegant birds with feathers that changed color based on their emotions. Right now, her feathers were bright orange, which meant she was very curious. "Dr. Mitchell," Kim said, "our scientists have studied the battle records from your solar system. Your defensive capabilities appear to be impossible. How are you stopping Imperial weapons?" Carl took a deep breath. This was going to be hard to explain. "Ambassador Watson, we are not stopping their weapons. Their weapons are stopping themselves. The Empire's military technology is based on scientific principles that do not exist in baseline reality." A crystal creature named Veltar spoke next. Veltar's voice sounded like music played on glass instruments. "What do you mean by baseline reality, human scientist?" "I mean the actual universe," Carl said. "The one where matter and energy follow consistent physical laws. The one where cause and effect work the same way everywhere." The room got very quiet. Carl could see confusion in the eyes, crystals, energy fields, and other sensory organs of the alien representatives. Ambassador Mordek from the Centauri Collective spoke up. Mordek was a large creature that looked like a cross between an octopus and a computer. Dr. Mitchell, are you saying that our technology does not work in real physics? Carl nodded. That appears to be the case. All of your weapons, shields, faster than light travel, and energy systems are based on manipulating forces and particles that do not actually exist. The silence in the room was complete. Carl could hear the air conditioning system running. He could hear someone's breathing. He could hear his own heartbeat. Finally, a representative from the Void Dwellers asked the question everyone was thinking. The Void Dwellers were mysterious beings that lived in empty space between stars. Nobody knew what they really looked like because they were always covered in dark energy fields. Human, the Void Dweller said, in a voice like wind through empty caves. If our technology is not real, how have we built civilizations? How have we traveled between stars? How has the Empire conquered half the galaxy? Carl had been preparing for this question. It was the big one, the question that would change everything. You have all been living and operating in a pocket dimension that overlaps with but does not fully interact with normal space-time. Your entire galactic civilization exists in what we might call a shared alternate reality. The room exploded with noise. Aliens were shouting, singing, buzzing, and making sounds that Carl's translator could not identify. Some aliens were angry, some were scared, and some were excited. Carl waited for the noise to die down, then continued. This is not a bad thing. Your civilizations are real to you. Your cultures, your art, your families, your achievements. All of that is completely valid and meaningful. You just exist in a different layer of reality than we do. Ambassador Watson's feathers had turned purple, which meant she was thinking very hard. Dr. Mitchell, this means humans are the only species in the galaxy that exists in normal space-time? It appears that way, Carl said. Every other species we have encountered exists in the same shifted dimensional state. That is why you can all interact with each other normally. You are all operating under the same alternative physics. Veltar's crystal body flashed bright white. This explains why our weapons pass through you harmlessly. We exist in different layers of reality. Exactly, Carl said. Your energy weapons are trying to affect matter that exists in normal physics, but they are designed for the physics of your pocket dimension. It is like trying to use a key made of light to open a door made of wood. Back at the Pentagon, General A. Frank Lewis was coordinating with military leaders from around Earth. Frank was a big man with gray hair who had been in the Army for 30 years. He was practical and direct, and he did not like complicated problems. So let me get this straight, Frank said to his staff. The entire alien galaxy is living in some kind of alternate dimension, and that is why their weapons do not work on us. Colonel Nancy Price nodded. Nancy was in charge of alien technology research. That is correct, General. We have confirmed Dr. Mitchell's findings. All alien technology is based on physics that only work in their dimensional space. Frank shook his head. This is the strangest war I have ever been in. The enemy cannot hurt us. We probably cannot hurt them. And now we find out they are not even in the same reality as us. Sir, said Major Dave Allen, what are our orders? How do we proceed with a situation like this? Frank looked out the window, at the sky. Somewhere up there, thousands of alien ships were floating around, completely confused about why their weapons did not work. I have no idea, Major. This is way above my pay grade. President Ross called an emergency session of Congress. She needed to explain to the American people what was happening. She also needed to decide how humanity should respond to this situation. Members of Congress, Helen said, we face a unique situation in human history. We have made contact with a galactic civilization that cannot harm us, even though they vastly outnumber us. We have learned that they exist in a different layer of reality, which makes their technology incompatible with our universe. Senator Bob Turner from Texas raised his hand. Madam President, are we in danger from these aliens? No, Helen said. They cannot hurt us any more than we can hurt them. We exist in different realities that barely touch each other. Congresswoman Linda Foster from California asked the next question. What do we do now? Do we try to help them? Do we ignore them? Do we try to take advantage of this situation? Helen looked around the room at the faces of America's elected representatives. These people would help decide humanity's response to the most important discovery in history. That, Helen said, is what we need to figure out together. Captain Steve Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Explorer as his ship entered Zerothian space for the first time. Steve was a brave explorer who loved discovering new places. He had traveled to the edge of human space many times, but never to alien worlds. The Explorer was humanity's newest ship, built specifically for long-distance exploration. It carried the best scientists and equipment Earth could provide. Their mission was to visit the Zerothian homeworld and learn the truth about alien civilization. "Captain," said Dr. Sophie Turner, the ship's physicist, "we are approaching the Zerothian system. You need to see this." Steve looked at the main screen and could not believe what he saw. The Zerothian planets were not solid worlds like Earth. They looked like balls of light and energy, with cities that seemed to float in space without any support. Commander Alex Jordan, Steve's first officer, checked his instruments. "Captain, our sensors are giving us very strange readings. These planets appear to be made of organized energy rather than matter." Dr. Turner was taking readings with her special equipment. Sophie was brilliant and had spent years studying theoretical physics. If anyone could figure out what they were seeing, it would be her. "Captain," Sophie said, "this is incredible. The entire Zerothian system exists in a state of controlled dimensional flux. Their planets, their cities, their technology. Everything is made of manipulated spacetime rather than ordinary matter." Steve had read Dr. Mitchell's reports about aliens existing in alternate reality, but seeing it in person was completely different. "Sophie, are you saying their whole civilization is made of energy?" "Not exactly energy as we understand it," Sophie replied. "They exist in a dimension where the laws of physics allow matter and energy to be interchangeable. They can build solid structures out of organized space-time." The Explorer approached the main Zerothian planet. What they found was unlike anything in human experience. The planet's surface was covered with cities that shifted and changed shape as they watched. Buildings grew like living things, then dissolved and reformed into new shapes. "Captain," said Lieutenant Dan Murphy, the communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. They want to invite us down to meet with their leaders." Steve nodded. "Tell them we accept, but ask if our ship will be safe on their world. We are not sure how our technology will interact with theirs." The answer came back quickly. The Zerothians were just as curious about humans as humans were about them. They had prepared a special landing area that would accommodate human physics. Steve took a small team down to the planet's surface. With him were Dr. Turner, Commander Jordan, and Lieutenant Murphy. They used a shuttlecraft that was specially equipped to handle unusual conditions. When they landed, they were met by Thexmal himself. The former fleet commander had been reassigned to diplomatic duty after the failure of his invasion. Up close, he was even more impressive than Steve had expected. 8 feet tall with metallic skin and 4 arms, Thexmal looked like a warrior god. "Welcome to Zaroth Prime, human captain," Thexmal said. His translator made his voice sound formal and polite. "I must confess, seeing you in person is very strange. You appear solid and real in a way that we do not." Steve looked around at the alien city. The buildings seemed to shift and flow like water, but they stayed solid enough to walk on. Alien citizens moved through the streets, but they looked more like living light than physical beings. "Thexmal," Steve said, "your world is beautiful, but very different from ours. Can you explain how your cities work?" Thexmal gestured with all 4 arms at the flowing buildings around them. "Our cities are built from crystallized space-time. We shape reality itself into the forms we need. Is this not how you build your cities?" Dr. Turner was scanning everything with her instruments. "Captain, this is fascinating. They are literally molding the fabric of space-time into architectural forms. It is like they are building with the universe itself." Commander Jordan was studying the alien citizens. "Captain, look at how they move. They are not walking on the ground like we are. They are flowing through space like they are swimming in 3 dimensions." Steve watched the aliens moving around them. Jordan was right. The aliens did not seem to be affected by gravity the same way humans were. They moved in smooth, flowing motions that seemed to ignore physical laws. Thexmol, Steve said, "May I ask you something personal? Do you have a physical body like we do, or are you made of energy?" Thexmol paused and seemed to think about the question. "Human Captain, that is difficult to answer. We are what you might call organized consciousness, given physical form through will and technology. We exist because we choose to exist." "Doctor?" Turner looked up from her instruments. "Captain, I am reading massive energy fluctuations from every Zerathian we can see. They appear to be maintaining their physical forms through continuous conscious effort." This was getting more strange by the minute. Steve was beginning to understand just how different aliens were from humans. "Thexmol, what happens if you stop concentrating on existing?" "We return to the base state of consciousness," Thexmol replied. "What you might call pure thought without form. It is peaceful. But we prefer to exist in physical reality where we can interact with others." Lieutenant Murphy was recording everything they saw and heard. "Captain, this explains why their weapons did not work on us. They were trying to affect our consciousness rather than our physical bodies." Steve nodded. It was all starting to make sense. "Thexmol, when you fired your weapons at Earth, what did you think would happen?" "We expected your consciousness to be overwhelmed by Imperial will," Thexmol said. "This is how war works in our galaxy. The stronger mind dominates the weaker mind, and the defeated beings accept new reality. But humans exist as physical matter rather than organized consciousness," Steve said. "Your weapons were trying to change our minds, but our minds are housed in brains made of actual atoms." Thexmol's metallic skin flickered with patterns of light. "This is why you laughed at us. Your minds could not be dominated because they exist in baseline physical reality." Dr. Turner made another discovery. "Captain, I am detecting similar readings from all the other alien species in this system. They all exist as organized consciousness, maintaining physical forms through concentrated will." Back on Earth, General Lewis was reading the reports from the Explorer mission. Frank had seen many strange things in his military career, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. "So let me understand this," Frank said to his staff. "The entire alien galaxy is made up of beings who exist as living thoughts that choose to have physical bodies?" Colonel Price nodded. "That appears to be correct, sir. They can create matter and energy through focused consciousness, but it requires constant mental effort to maintain. And their weapons work by trying to overpower other minds rather than destroying physical targets?" "Yes, sir. Their entire concept of war is based on psychological domination rather than physical destruction." Frank shook his head and laughed. "No wonder they were confused when we did not surrender. They were trying to intimidate us, and we thought they were trying to kill us." Major Allen asked the obvious question. "Sir, what does this mean for our relationship with the alien galaxy?" Frank looked at the reports from Captain Rodriguez. The Explorer had visited 12 different alien worlds, and they were all the same. Entire civilizations made of organized thought, creating beautiful and impossible cities out of pure will. "It means," Frank said slowly, "that we are probably the only real species in the galaxy. Everyone else is living in a shared dream that they have made physical through group consciousness." The implications were staggering. Humans were not just technologically different from aliens. Humans existed in baseline reality, while aliens existed in a collective mental construct that overlapped with normal space-time. "Sir," Colonel Price said, "Captain Rodriguez is requesting permission to continue exploring alien space. He says the aliens are eager to show us their civilizations and learn about baseline reality." Frank approved the request. This was the most important exploration mission in human history. They needed to learn everything they could about how alien civilization worked. But as he signed the authorization, Frank could not help wondering what this meant for humanity's future. They were real beings in a galaxy full of living dreams. The question was, what should they do with that knowledge? Admiral Morrison stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council Station. Jake had come a long way from being a ship captain to representing all of humanity in the most important meeting in galactic history. The hall was enormous, big enough to hold representatives from 10,000 different species. Around him floated, sat, and existed in various forms the strangest collection of beings he had ever seen. There were creatures made of living crystal, beings that looked like moving clouds of gas, entities that existed as pure mathematics, and thousands of others that defied description. All of them were waiting to hear what humanity would do now that they knew the truth. The Zerathian Empire had officially surrendered the day before. Grand Admiral Zekthor had announced that the Empire could not fight an enemy that existed in baseline reality. But surrender was not the main issue anymore. The real question was what would happen now that everyone knew aliens existed as organized consciousness, while humans existed as actual matter. Fleet Commander Thexmal sat in the front row of the Galactic Assembly. The former Imperial commander had become an ambassador for his people. He was no longer the proud warrior who had threatened Earth. Now he looked nervous and uncertain. "Human Admiral Morrison," Thexmal said, "the galaxy waits for your judgment. We have discovered that our entire civilization exists in what you call a pocket dimension. Our worlds, our cultures, our very lives are what you might consider elaborate mental constructs. What will you do with this knowledge?" Jake looked out at the thousands of alien representatives. They all seemed worried. Some were afraid that humans would try to dominate them. Others worried that humans might decide to destroy them. A few seemed scared that humans would simply ignore them and leave them alone. The truth was, humanity had been debating this question for months. President Ross had held meetings with world leaders, scientists, philosophers, and ordinary citizens. What should humanity do when they discovered they were the only real species in a galaxy full of living thoughts? Jake had listened to all the debates and discussions. Some people wanted to become rulers of the galaxy. Others wanted to help aliens become more real. Still others thought humans should just go home and pretend none of this had happened. But Jake had a different idea, one that was very human in its simplicity. He started to laugh. It was the same kind of laugh he had given when Thexmal first threatened Earth. A genuine, happy laugh that came from deep inside. The sound echoed through the massive council hall, and thousands of aliens heard it. The alien representatives looked confused and worried. They had been expecting anger or demands or threats. They had not expected laughter. Jake kept laughing for almost a minute. When he finally stopped, he was smiling bigger than anyone had ever seen him smile. "I am sorry," Jake said to the assembled aliens, "but this whole situation is really funny when you think about it. You came to conquer us with weapons that do not work in our reality. We defended ourselves without understanding why your weapons failed. Then we discovered that you are living thoughts while we are made of atoms. And now you are all sitting here waiting for us to tell you what we are going to do about it." Thexmal shifted nervously. "Yes, Admiral Morrison, that is exactly what we are waiting for." Jake nodded and looked around the hall again. "Here is what we are going to do." Nothing. The silence in the hall was complete. 10,000 alien beings waited for Jake to explain what he meant. "You have built something incredible here," Jake continued. "You have civilizations that span thousands of star systems. You have art, music, literature, philosophy, love, friendship, families, and dreams. You have governments and laws and traditions that have lasted for millions of years." He paused and gestured at the beautiful council hall around them. "The fact that your civilization is built on organized consciousness instead of ordinary matter does not make it less real to you. Your thoughts and feelings and relationships are still meaningful. Your achievements are still impressive. Your cultures are still worth preserving." Ambassador Watson from the Galactic Consortium raised her hand. Her feathers were bright yellow, which meant she was hopeful, but cautious. "Admiral Morrison, are you saying that humans will not try to rule the galaxy?" Jake shook his head. "We have no interest in ruling anyone. We barely know how to rule ourselves. Besides, what kind of bullies would we be if we used our reality? Advantage to push around beings who cannot hurt us?" A crystal entity named Relton spoke up. "But Admiral, humans could reshape our entire galaxy. You exist in baseline reality. You could change the fundamental laws that govern our existence." "We could," Jake agreed. "But why would we want to? You have created something beautiful here. Why would we destroy it just because we can?" Dr. Ellen Price was sitting in the human delegation area. Ellen was humanity's new chief diplomatic advisor, and she had been working on this speech with Jake for weeks. She stood up and addressed the council. "Representatives of the galaxy," Ellen said, "humanity has made its decision. We choose cooperation over domination. We choose friendship over conquest. We choose to learn from you rather than rule over you." The alien representatives began talking among themselves. The hall filled with sounds of singing, buzzing, humming, and stranger noises that human translators could not identify. Thexmol stood up and spoke for the entire Zerathian people. "Admiral Morrison, Dr. Price, on behalf of my species and the former empire, I must ask, why? You could rule us all. You could reshape reality itself to suit human desires. Why do you choose to be our friends instead?" Jake thought about the question. It was the same question human philosophers and leaders had been asking for months. Why should humanity choose the harder path of cooperation when they could easily choose the simpler path of domination? "Because," Jake said finally, "ruling people who cannot fight back is not impressive. It is just bullying. And humans have learned that bullying does not make anyone happy, not even the bullies." He looked directly at Thexmol. "Besides, we like you. You are interesting. Your civilizations are fascinating. Your art is beautiful. Your cultures are complex and thoughtful. Why would we want to destroy all that just to feel powerful?" Grand Admiral Zekthor spoke from the back of the hall. The former Imperial war leader had been stripped of his military rank and was now serving as a cultural liaison. "Admiral Morrison, what do you propose for the future? How should our civilizations interact?" Jake smiled. "We propose trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, and friendship. You exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, which makes you remarkably good at certain types of manufacturing and art. We exist in baseline reality, which makes us good at other things. We can help each other." Dr. Price added, "We also propose tourism. Many humans would love to visit your reality-fluid cities and experience your consciousness-based technologies, and we suspect many of you would be curious to experience baseline reality." The idea of tourism between realities had never occurred to the aliens. The hall buzzed with excited conversation as species representatives discussed the possibilities. "There is one more thing," Jake said, and the hall got quiet again. "The Zerathian Empire is officially dissolved as of today by mutual agreement between humans and Zerathians. It will be replaced by the Galactic Cooperative, a voluntary association of species working together for mutual benefit." Thexmol looked surprised. "Admiral, you are giving up the right to rule the galaxy?" "We never wanted to rule the galaxy," Jake replied. "We just wanted you to stop shooting at us with weapons that do not work." The vote to establish the Galactic Cooperative was unanimous. Every species in the galaxy agreed to join the new organization. Humans would serve as mediators and advisors, but every species would govern itself. As the council session ended, Jake stood on the observation deck and looked out at the stars. Ellen joined him, along with Captain Rodriguez, Dr. Turner, and several other humans who had become heroes of the first human-alien contact. "Jake," Ellen said, "do you think we made the right choice?" Jake watched alien ships from hundreds of different species flying past the station. They were no longer the ships of an empire coming to conquer. They were the ships of friends and partners coming to cooperate. "Ellen," Jake said, "6 months ago, we were alone in the universe. Today we have 10,000 species who want to be our friends. I think we made the right choice." Dr. Turner was looking at her scanner. "Admiral Morrison, I am detecting something interesting. The alien ships are starting to exist more solidly in baseline reality. Their interaction with us seems to be making them more real." Jake nodded. "Maybe that is what friendship does. Maybe when different kinds of beings work together, they all become more real." Years later, historians would write that the day humanity chose not to rule the galaxy was the day humanity became the most beloved species in it. The Galactic Cooperative grew and prospered. Humans became known throughout the galaxy as the species that laughed at threats and chose friendship over power. And in impossible cities on energy worlds across the galaxy, beings made of living thought still told stories about the day they tried to conquer the humans and the humans just laughed. The galaxy was a much happier place when everyone learned that Sometimes the best response to conflict is simply to laugh and ask if anyone wants coffee.